Hello.
What it do?
Okay, so these mini Mapster classes got a little out of hand. It was supposed to be just the one and about why we're not famous. And then it turned into something completely different. Thank you for all of your feedback.
Yes, indeed.
All the questions, all the discussions we're having. And a lot of you are mentioning it would be cool if we had a podcast. Not now, down the line. We're
Right.
trying to get some more albums and music and
Yeah, that's number one.
things finished. Once that's, in a good place, we have extra time. That's why these are kind of like just one take, no edits, get it done, move on with the day.
Loving that flow though.
Okay, so this will be kind of the last one on the skills of the MC. I'm going to wrap that up, start something else. I don't know what we're going to name these now because it's not a mini Mapster class. It's really like part 4. We'll decide that later. Anyway, one of the things that got the most attention and feedback was when we brought up the consonants.
Yes.
Right? And we didn't really get to the vowels. We'll just do a little bit of that today. I feel like if we do too much, we're just doing all the work for y'all.
Right.
It's kind of like just introducing ideas to let you know where to look, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I have some things to say, but why don't you? Because I talk too much. I feel like about the art of the MC. Obviously, he's the one that has the knowledge. I feel like since I'm learning a lot of it right now, for somebody who knows it that well, it's almost maybe difficult for them to break down some of the basics to somebody who doesn't know, like, what the hell is going on.
Yeah, that's
and
exactly why this works.
Trying to still process a lot of these things. I think it's very fresh in my mind to not know how to do it.
Yeah.
And still learn it. But
yeah.
On the subject of consonants and vowels.
Okay, so we talked a lot about the consonants. As far as the vowels are concerned, like when I first started getting into the vowels, like that was more or less like the easiest way to put impact behind like a word, right? So especially if you kept continuing with the vowel sounds, like how it is that you would end. If I were to use back in the day, there was so many like go-tos, you know what I'm saying? But if I was to use like activity, right? And then you would end something with ivity, you know what I'm saying? Or the ease, right? I started to find out that like during the time that you would go to like different sides or parts of the world, like in the East Coast, there was the E's, right? And like the A's, right, that were being used. And then you go to the West Coast and it was like something totally different. So it was almost like you were able to tell like who was from where depending on what vowel sounds that they usually used, right? So that was a huge part for hip hop for me. And as far as the skilled MC, versus like the person that's just getting into it or something like that, that's just doing that task, the skilled MC was able to use vowel sounds in a way that most people didn't, right? So they didn't just do like what was impactful. What I found was like the O's, like and kind of like the U's, the OU's, the sound was the one that was like, wow, okay, like this person.
Okay, so can you break that down?
Yeah.
For the people who are like, what do you mean vowels? When you're rapping, all words have different vowels in them.
Right.
So how are people in the East Coast using only some vowels and some on the West Coast some vowels? Don't they have to use all vowels?
Yes, of course. Like, so this is based off of like an average of what it is that you would hear coming from lots of MCs. And this is also like time sensitive as well, So at a point in time where like there was like a lot of reggae influence in what was happening with hip hop. Like a lot of the MCs on the East Coast would use those E's and A's, right? So even today, like let's say more modern, you have this song is Ella Ella A. That's very blatant. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So, but that's also the use of a vowel sound, like to just kind of be catchy with the hook and everything. You know, so in the verses, these folks would actually use those vowel sounds. You know, and the O's and the E's and things like that and A's. Those were coming from a lot of those skilled MCs, but there were people that were kind of finding out, and this isn't necessarily by way of they were always finding out by the sake of like just trying it. They weren't like, some people weren't hip to it yet. They were just trying these things, and that's how it would kind of spread. Like, so if you were in the East Coast and more people were using like the O's or the E's and the A's, you would hear people do that and you would imitate it in that same way,
Right. Okay. So, would it be safe to say, like, once rap started getting to a certain place where everybody kind of like, okay, now I'm saying what I want to say, and I'm rhyming, right?
Yeah.
The next level of that, are you saying that people actually made the conscious effort to be like, what if I did this verse with a lot of like the O vowel?
Mm-hmm.
Was that a conscious decision because they knew?
For some people, yeah. For some people, and for others, it was more or less like imitating a sound, so that they can get a particular kind of they can get a particular sound, from how it is and what it is that they were imitating. But one of the things that I wanted to kind of go back to is like during the time where you had like this reggae influence, you had a lot of people doing like the ing kind of thing, where so like that. But the whole thing that we talk about when we talk about what was it? Lyrical, spiritual, miracle. Like that was born out of that whole vowel sound thing, where you're using a certain vowel to, portray or convey like your style. So going back to the O's, right? The O's is that this is me personally. O's I find to be the most difficult one. Like this is the one that's like for the skilled MC. Like when I'm looking for more of that skill, I find that the skilled MC will use the O in a very peculiar, way, right? Like for instance, when you want to do like bubbly words and you'll use the U's, right? Like huddled trouble in the bubble county, right? That type of the O's and the U's, they go real well together. You know what I'm saying?
So that's our third car rap. If you want to check out what he's talking about at the very beginning when we're like huddled trouble in the bubble county, right?
Yeah.
It's very
oh.
So it's very bubbly.
Right.
And that's like a great example of like where to see it. And if you want to go down the rabbit hole of that kind of a thing, just check out Freestyle Fellowship, Project Blow, and the members, and when they go on their off thing, just pay attention. Do some of them kind of like in a verse or whatever, just like, does it seem bubbly? Does it seem round? Does it seem if they did a lot of ooze, like that would have an effect, right? Because like then their verse sounds ooh, right? And it's like once you make the conscious effort to kind of play with that, it has an effect. But you as a listener might just be like, that sounds, there's something cool about it, but you're not paying attention that it's the vowels that are doing it.
That's the vowels that are doing it. Yeah. On the East Coast, it was like more like Pharoah Monch. Like he was the beast with it. You know what I mean? And he was using those vowel sounds in a way that was just like, like this is really, really, really dope. But like, of course, West Coast, when you talk about Freestyle Fellowship, it's like, man, these are like the innovators, you know what I'm saying, of that.
Yeah, okay. So kind of how I see it in my head.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Perfect.
So I think like you have to ask yourself a question. Like, let's say you're an MC, right? And why did you choose MCing as opposed to like DJing, as opposed to even playing the piano, as opposed to becoming a drummer, right? I feel like a lot of people so easily fall into that because they feel like I don't have to learn an instrument. I don't have to learn how to play music. I already know how to talk. I must not be that far away from it.
Right.
And then it's much easier to like, if you feel like I have a lot to say, even maybe some people just like from an ego point of view, like getting on the soapbox kind of a thing. It's like, that's my thing, right? But when you think about it as an MC who's really trying to like understand the craft and further the craft, right?
Yeah.
Then you've really made it harder on yourself, because not only do you have to be a skilled musician, right?
Right.
Because you are still doing the rhythmic thing like a drummer. You are still doing inflections and musical things like a singer, right? Or even like any other instruments. Or because some people, as you can see, like rappers will just, well, I'll just sing my own hook. And it's like, really, how often does that work if somebody doesn't actually know how to sing?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like you've just added not only you're a musician now, right? Because you have to also understand the beat, right? So often we hear like, I don't understand how Swam's rapping on that.
Right.
You know, because they can't even find the one. Sometimes then it's in a 6/8, and how often does that happen? If you ask somebody to freestyle and 6/8, they're just like, where's the one? Where's the?
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. Like with like the skilled MC versus any other MC. Like the skilled MC will also kind of choose, and she'll do this a lot too. You know what I mean? I don't know if y'all know that, but like she'll do this a lot. Like even in the beats as well as like the singing and the rapping. But like basically they'll choose an actual pattern to kind of rhyme in for certain sections, not necessarily the whole thing. So you'll end up doing like a 6/8 or a 3/4 in a 4/4 beat. So you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, right? But then that 6/8 or that 3/4 would be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 in the 4/4, right? So do the 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? And then you can create
and
patterns.
Then not just 1, 2, 3. Sometimes you'll skip the 2.
Oh, of
Sometimes
course.
you'll skip the 3.
Of course.
So then it just gives you that kind of
Yeah.
that swing, that bounce, that feeling. But you're not doing all 3.
Right.
But it feels like that's a different meter on top of a different meter.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So it's like there's musicianship involved, and you don't actually have to know the nitty gritty. Sometimes, just like back in the day, jazz musicians, they couldn't read music, but they know how to call and response, converse with the members. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they can have a whole conversation that people won't understand because they know it. You don't have to necessarily know how to write it down, but and it's like that's in this too, if you know about it, right?
Yeah. Of
Okay.
course.
So there's that.
Of course.
There's that. But my point was like, on top of that, as choosing to be an MC, you now added on top of that, because now you have the words as well, right? So what does that mean? You're now a poet or a writer or a novelist, whatever if you choose to do more of talk about your life and storylines and whatever, then you have to be almost a novelist, a screenwriter,
Yeah.
When we kind of talked about who's the Michelangelo and Picasso of today, who's the Edgar Allan Poe of today, who's the Shakespeare of today,
right?
Good chance there might be skilled MCs if we knew who they are, because like if you take it to that level, it's endless, because you're now a musician and now also you're adding words to it. to add just the meanings of the words.
Yeah.
But then we have the sounds of the words, like we were talking about,
of course,
the consonants,
the vowels. Yeah.
So for me, coming from a singing background, you get through the consonant as fast as you can, and you hold the note on the vowel, right? So again, lots of open O's and A's, easiest to sing, right?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to sing something, a word like a word, because then I'm singing word, right? Weird. One way you can do that, you can do it, Nelly Furtado, I'm like a bird. But she's not saying, I'm like a bird, right? I'm like a bird. So it's like, then it's kind of more of a open thing, right? But this, as a singer, you have to pay attention to it, because some notes you won't be able to hit on certain vowels. You have to open them, do all kinds of things in the back of your throat, back teeth open, it's a whole thing, right?
Let's go.
But then as an MC, you are the drummer, right?
Yeah.
So when people are just kind of like, I never thought about this. When you think about it, MC as a drummer, right? A drummer can use brushes, and then you have the right? So as an MC, you can go whatever, cats, hats, bats.
Right.
Better words than that. But if you keep doing that,
the TS,
you get that on a verse, and then it's like, oh, this sounds really jazzy. You know what I'm saying? And just like, for
and the attack on some of these words can be like tickle, you know what I mean? Because it's it's like you know what I mean? And then like you can end with your S's, so tickle cats, you know what I'm saying? Tickle cats, pickle, pickle
bats.
You know what I mean?
Pickle bats.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you get to shape out like what your verse can sound like by way of choosing the consonants and the vowels that lie between them,
just
and
like
how they end too.
Yeah, just like when like people are either learning or making fun of beatboxing, the beat will be boots and cats and boots and cats.
Yeah.
So the boom, boots is the kick, and the cats.
Yeah. So they get the right.
Yeah.
You see how they're coming together.
Yeah, but the point is, like, as an skilled MC who follows their craft and tries to develop it, now you have the musicianship, but there's so much in the words themselves that is the musicianship, that is the drumming, And if you think about it, just like I'm an MC, it's about what I say. Yeah. Sure, it's about what you say.
Yeah.
But there's layers on layers on layers on layers. So that's why consonants and vowels, if you chose an art form where words are a big part of it, and from a musical point of view, you can't disregard what the words sound like. Because that's the musicianship part of it.
And even going along with that, like even when I was trying to figure out the words before the words came in, it was like I knew that there was a sound that I wanted to go with.
So that's the scatting kind of that comes
Obviously.
in, right? You kind of scatted.
Yeah.
Scat the rhythm. You listen to the beat and what? Yeah.
Yeah. So when it came to the scatting, like I would scat out like a lot of my patterns before. It was like freestyle scatting, you know what I'm saying? Before, like on top of the beat before I even had the words. And sometimes that's actually how I would write, is I would scat it out and then I would put words in there later. You know what I mean? And so it was just a way of, like, as far as a painting, if you're doing a pre-painting before you actually add those, that last like acrylic layer or whatever, like your pre-painting is going to be a little bit more free, which hence like in this rap form, like it's going to be the scatting. You know what I mean?
And like who else does that? Drummers, they sing their solos. Guitarists, a lot of times, like the top-notch jazz guitarists, everything they're playing, they're singing it as well. Because it's not random notes. They're like singing and playing the solo at the same time because they know exactly what they want. So it's just like now you're doing that, and now you have the added work. What words now fit the feeling that I'm trying to do?
First of all, shout out to Ella. You know what I'm saying?
Ella Fitzgerald.
You know what I mean? And shout out to Cab Calloway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are some people that I paid attention to, like as far as the scatting was concerned, because it was just like, These cats is
Yeah.
top notch.
Yeah.
My bad.
And shout out to Micah 9.
Micah 9. Oh, come on, man. Come on. You already know.
Like, to me, he introduced Micah 9 to me, and it's like so much started making sense to me coming from the musical world, because I don't exactly know Micah's background, but it feels to me like as an MC he started like growing and developing, and his thing prismed out into a lot of the jazz scatting kind of thing.
Yeah.
And to me as a singer, you know, I did some jazz combo stuff and just like harmonies from choirs and stuff, and then that came down to more of the MC skills.
Yeah.
But it's somewhere now in the same area, so for me to hear somebody doing that is just like,
yeah,
I feel like I was doing that, but I didn't know where that fit in the grander scheme. So that, like, surface patterns kind of a
thing. Exactly.
And other stuff that we're doing now that you guys haven't heard yet. But it's just like, then it lives in that kind of sing-songy, rappy world. But like his skill, you know, is just like so. But you know, sometimes, you know, he'll just do the scatty thing, and that's where you find a lot of the bubbly kind of things, and
yeah, super dope,
incredible. Okay, anything else
I wanted
on
to
the subject?
Touch a little bit, like as far as like the skilled MC searching for patterns and things like this. One of the things that I usually hear from a skilled MC is that they will not necessarily follow the boom in the cat. You know what I'm saying? They will follow something that is loosely tied to that, but they won't always end on the snare, like always in that last rhyme or whatever on the snare. Like they will continue lines. Now, here's another thing that the skilled MC does not do. They don't sacrifice their message, you know what I'm saying, for rhythm. You know what I mean? They will find the rhythm, like, but you will get the whole message. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's, you know, cryptic or that's just like straight up. But the message will definitely be able to be found. Like you won't just hear like a half-ass version of what you're supposed to be getting. You know what I mean? So I think that's a huge point. You know, so like you won't. There's some stuff that she has done on some of this stuff that's coming out, right, where she breaks up a 4-syllable word, like damn near across 2 bars. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, like this is incredible, you know. And in the inflections that she does on the actual syllables, it's not as if it was one word. It sounds like it could be 3 or 4 different words. Crazy. That's what I want to do.
I'm not saying there's any like little treat you guys might get for Halloween. You did not hear this from me. If you say it was me, I'll say it was an AI version of me. It wasn't me. But there might be a little treat for Halloween, but I don't know. Anyway.
Wow.
Yes. Did you finish that?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm done.
I interrupted.
No.
One more question. One more question. As a skilled MC, what do you look for in a beat? People send you beats all the time. You make beats. I make beats. What challenges you? What do you like? What do you not like? Just real quick, like, what do you look for in a beat as a skilled MC?
There's about 3 different things that I look for immediately, and that's that square pattern. Like I can usually do away with that, right? And the square pattern is just with the same sounding hi-hat. You know what I'm saying? It's almost too bold. You know what I mean? Too mechanical. And so what it is I'll look for is like the 16th note.
To play off of.
Right, exactly. Because that's a huge playground for, you know, just words in general.
Yeah.
Right? And where you can place those things and where they sit. Then the other thing that I look for is the placement of usually the placement of the snare as opposed to the kick. Kick it's the kick. If they can place the kick in different places and you still get a chance to know where that one is, incredible, right? Incredible. But when they place that snare, it doesn't always have to be the, you don't have to book in everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
So I usually like look for the 16th notes and then like where you're placing that snare.
Okay.
Yeah. Melodies and things like that, those can come like later, but yeah, that's the first things I look for.
Okay, cool. I just want to say one last, because I can't stop talking. Well, he asked me the other day, because I said I talk so much, and he's like, have people not really maybe asked you for your opinion before? And I was like, no, they have. No one's ever asked me.
Right.
It's built up over the years. Anyway, so we gave you so much information. He just gave you so much information on this, and you're like, what do I do with all of this, right? Because there's the idea of the craft, right? I just want to say one thing on practice, because I am one of those people who discovered the greatness of practice pretty late in life. I was talented enough to kind of just do the bare minimum and it's still being okay, and it doesn't really let you develop your craft. You know what I'm saying? And now it's just like, okay, basically something that I've learned that might help you. All practice is a practice in focus. No matter what you're practicing, you're actually practicing, can I stay focused enough to grasp these ideas, to repeat them? You know what I'm saying? Like if you're playing the piano or whatever, the hardest thing is to actually pay attention to the music and play it and not be like, this is difficult, move on, grab a snack. You know what I'm saying? Like having that dedicated time to be like, this is all I'm gonna do, and like turn off my notifications or whatever else, and like having that focus, learning how to focus, because focus is so hard for a lot of us.
So
especially we're so finding out about a lot of people who are musical and creative just being neurodivergent or having ADHD and stuff like that.
Yeah, you
might have to do some research and figure out how for you it works to be focused. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, regular like meditation kinds of things has never worked for me. Like I can't sit and not think. My brain is blah, 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 blah. But when I try something like Tai Chi, where I can actually think about what goes where next, extremely calming and focused, and like kind of brings me together. So you have to figure out yourself, because as the instrument yourself, your body, your brain, you're the instrument, so you have to figure out how you work and works for you. So just however you can practice, that's figure out how to practice, figure out how you are able to focus on something. And all practice is a practice in dedication, because a lot of people again hit us and be like, yeah, I do this when I feel inspired. When I watch this video from you guys, I feel inspired and I go. Yeah, but then on the days you don't feel inspired, you can do other things. You can even I go into Ableton and kind of like look through old tracks that I know I can put away on my external hard drive, so I can have a fresh template and see like, these are the things I'm working on, just like cleaning up stuff, maybe just make a drum rack with sounds I like that I can then open and just work on, as opposed to I have a day when I'm so motivated and now I'm doing mundane tasks and that motivation just kind of seeps away. So just learn how to make this commitment to your craft actually work for the type of person you are, the type of brain you have. And then, and very last thing on the subject, I swear. Something I really kind of learned, from Da Vinci Studio Sensei.
Shout out Da Vinci.
Da Vinci. It's like pretty much anything that you repeat over and over, you're practicing it. So if you're doing those rapping on those square beats over and over and over, you're gonna get really good at that. If, every day you do something that's maybe not good for you or not good for your art, you are practicing that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like even things you eat, things like every day that you choose to just sit in your chair and not take a 15-minute walk or whatever, you're practicing how to sit in a chair. All those skills, you're literally practicing them. So whatever you kind of want more of, like, I want to know what they're talking about with this musicianship thing. Practice listening to jazz 10 minutes a day. Like, set an alarm like clockwork, 10 minutes, and just listen for something different every time. This time, only listen to what is the bass doing. This time, only listen to what is the drummer doing. This sounds like he's using sticks. This sounds like he's using a brush. Can I hear what he or she is doing with the kick? What is the relationship here between the kick and the snare? Just pick very specific things. Maybe find somebody who's scatting.
Yep.
Like, they're not using words. Are they paying attention to vowels more than consonants? Are they using hard consonants? Is there a lot of is there a lot of just like oohs and ahs and like just
that's a great
listening? Because it's like, if you haven't listened to it and you don't have it in your brain, how are you going to do it? Where is this going to come from? You have to internalize all this information, and there's so much music and so many different rhythms out there. Listen to different styles of music.
Yeah, that's a great exercise.
Listen to some Afro-Cuban. Listen to some dance hall.
Ooh.
Listen to some, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's like Cool Herc from Jamaica. Like, you think none of that made its way in there?
Let's go.
Take a dance class in dance hall. Take, a tap dance class. Go to an intro breaking class and don't break anything.
Nice.
But okay, so that's...
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect.
And now, we're going to introduce a new topic. Collaboration.
Collaboration.
Really, these are kind of like answering questions that we hear all the time. And another question we hear all the time is like,
very true.
How do you guys work so well together? Do you guys like butt heads a lot? Do you argue a lot? No. Why do you think that is?
Oh my goodness. Well, one is trust. That's the hugest thing. Trust. I trust that she is going to do whatever needs to be done to the beat in her head, you know what I'm saying? That is like, yo, this is that ill shit right here. Or this is what's gonna challenge you. Step to the plate. You know what I mean? Now, if every time I looked for the same thing that I used to get from, all these other producers, things like that, if I just put that on her, I would not be listening to her beats. You know what I'm saying? So you have to trust the person that you're with to provide you with the illest whatever, because sometimes, like with her, like it's not just the beat at times. It's like a beat and a hook or something that sounds like a hook that also sounds like a verse. You know what I mean? It's like, so the challenge is definitely there, and you just step to the plate and make it happen. Rather than asking like a bunch of different questions, that kind of lead to nowhere. So that's, trust is a big thing with me. I would say one of the second things of why it is that we work so well is like the skill. Like once I hear it, I'm drawn to it. I will listen to it before I'm even on it. I will listen to that thing like so many different times.
We're so inspired by what we hear from the other person. It's like, holy moly.
And so when we don't have that element, like we make sure that it's known. That's the trust element too, is that we can actually talk to each other on that level where it's like, yo, I don't think this is it. I wasn't feeling this part.
Yo, to me, it's still crazy that he wants the feedback to be as honest as possible. Like literally, if I say, that sounds like shit.
Yeah.
He's so excited about that.
Right.
I came from a background where I work with a producer that I would like literally get yelled at if I didn't present anything in a very like, is this okay for your ego kind of a way.
Wow.
He wants to know.
Nah.
And then that
Straight up.
he wants to make it better. He
Right.
wants to excel. He wants to
Yeah.
develop his craft at any opportunity.
Yeah.
Because to him there's no reason why anything he makes should sound like shit to me.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
Like, that's not right.
Right.
And that like hypes him up. You know? So it's just like looking at things from that point of view where you are sure enough of yourself where not everything is a blow to your ego.
Right.
I mean, you have to years of practice and kind of telling yourself and believing yourself. So like we were talking about trust in each other.
Yeah.
He has trust in himself.
Yeah.
That he's done the work
Definitely.
enough that he knows that if I say this sounds like shit, it doesn't mean he's shit.
Right. Exactly.
Like that's a mistake that he's not.
Yeah.
He's confident in his work. So
Yeah.
if there's a problem, he's confident that he knows how to fix it.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
make it out of this world amazing. Like there's not a doubt in his mind.
And there's
I don't have that. He can't tell me it sounds like shit. I will cry.
Right.
So it's different.
But that's also like the bubble that we create, you know what I'm saying, amongst each other, where it's like, okay, like we're talking about this in the means of trying to get better or trying to make it better or its best.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of the other skill sets and things like that, like I'm never going to attack that. I feel like she's never going to attack that. And if she did, like it would be necessary because this is also what I asked for.
Right.
And she's able to do it. You know what I mean? And her mind is so like developed to that point where it's like it asks the most perfect questions. You know what I mean? That sometimes like I can't even come up with. So it's like it's true. Two heads are better than one. You know what I mean? In this setting. And so beat wise, like she will deliver something because there are like we just have this kind of phrase, or she has this phrase where it's like I do what I want, you know what I mean? And so like when those things start to happen, and I know when she's in her bag, right? Her bag of tricks, and it's just like, yeah, let's go, you know what I mean? And I know when she knows she's on it, you know what I mean? And so when those things come across, that to me, that beat is also asking me questions. Like, okay, can you treat this part different than much different than how you treated this part, you know? And I'm always ready for the challenge, always.
Yeah.
Like there's never a time where I'm just like, can you do it more like this, and you know, let's just chill out.
Right. And part of that admiration for each other comes from the fact that we have different strengths and we know what they are. If there's something where the question is about basically something to do with rapping or just even hip hop in general, I take his opinion over mine, because especially about rapping, and because I know that I'm learning and I always still have questions and there's things I'm confused about, and as like if I get something right and then the next one I do to me sounds awful, right? He'll tell me that's because you've leveled up. You're on the next plateau now, and this one is, you know, different skills.
Yeah.
Different things about it are difficult. So I trust that he's giving me the correct information.
Yeah.
If this was something about singing, he trusts
of course
that I know what is going on. And like,
exactly.
You know, even like if I recommend, you know, vocal exercises, things that I've done research on over the years and read about, because, you know, switching from classical singing to more modern singing, and then also choosing not to go certain routes with singing that are maybe popular right now, or I think are not good for my voice or not my voice type or whatever. You know, there's a lot of research that happens along the way. So I know my stuff, he knows his stuff, and so that's why we are able to trust each other on these things and we want to learn more about it.
Oh, and best
Constantly
believe,
want to learn more.
right? And best believe your boy is getting these vocal lessons. You know what I mean?
Is there gonna be a Swanberger, aka Pockets, singing on the second Mugs and Pockets album?
Yes, we're gonna see where this goes. You know what I mean?
And there's things that I know I have to practice, right? So for example, when we do these car raps, fast raps or whatever, when I practice on my own, I always practice with a pen or a hairbrush. And this is something that I personally know from experience as a singer, knowing that when you're singing, your mouth and the microphone needs to be pretty much here. Because now, as I'm doing a lot of this stuff, right? Or like a lot of this stuff, if I don't learn how to make the microphone go where I go, you're not going to hear anything. And that's something that I just know from years of experience as a person working with the microphone. So some of these things you kind of have to like figure out on your own, so that I don't show up to a live show getting used to singing in the car with the car raps where I don't have a microphone and I can do all this, and then now I'm on stage and I'm doing this and you can't hear any of my words. So I noticed myself I was doing that, and then I started taking a hairbrush or whatever and like making sure my hand goes where my mouth goes. So there's
microphone
like
mechanics.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's things like that as you're learning that you kind of have to. One last thing. We talked a lot about, we talk about skilled MC, we talk about elevating music. Growing up in Poland on a farm, the music I was hearing from the States, it was, Madonna, it was Ace of Base, Two Unlimited, all of those things. Ooh, Lambada was my favorite. Yeah. And just all of these things, right? And even when I moved to the States, then listening to just basically what was on the radio. Before I got really like into this, right? Trying to understand it more, because in college, I went for the music degree with a dance minor. I was with the jazz band, and then I did a lot more experimental stuff. I started reading about like experimental theater. I started learning about like Japanese Buto dance, like all of these things, like to me, to see what I like, what kind of like fits in together, right? I forgot what I was talking about. Where did I start with this?
You were making one. No,
I got it. I got it. So basically, all that to say is that I started listening to pop music. To me, that's one thing that makes this work, because now everybody's just like, why do you guys have so much replay value on these songs? It's because somewhere in my brain, I still have the pop music formula, even though I don't think about it and I don't use it. Right. Because I've listened to so much different stuff, I still love some of, the pop music I remember, because I love how it made me feel. I love how I could sing along with it. I loved how I could go out with my friends and dance, and just like, life, youth, adventure, it's all tied into it. So that is a part of me, and that's a part of me that makes me excited to do music. Yeah. So I'm not ever saying like, just do this like weird experimental, just make sure you do like weird solos. The drums don't have any kind of groove or whatever. Make it work for you based on what you personally like. Yeah. Right? Oh yeah. I'm you know what though, like with the weird, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times that's just based heavily off of, what the masses listen to, and then what you personally listening to. And I love the fact that first and foremost, like we can get into pretty much anything. You play that stuff at the club and we'll both get into it. You know what I'm saying? We'll be like the main ones dancing, And that's the thing, is like, as long as it has like that passion to it, or we can add the passion to it, as long as there's room for it, it's like, it's going to get danced to. Yeah. It's going to get rapped to. Yeah. It's going to get enjoyed. I have one more thing, and then, because again, to me, this is what has been missing in my life as far as collaboration, this is what I think is missing across the board, and why so many projects fail and so many people don't finish things. Momentum.
Nice.
If you're working on something, see it through. And sometimes you're working on something and it's out of your hands, somebody else is working on it. Work on something else. We try to, if something comes into our hands, we try to do our work and give it right back as soon as possible, so it never sits in our laps, right? Because we know
So
other
dope.
people will take way longer than we will.
So
you
dope.
just like, that tennis ball comes to us,
Yo.
and then we work on other stuff that then we can put out into the world. Something is always happening.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
like, when like there's no momentum, because you get so used to like, I created this masterpiece with these people, and then it never came out. I have so many songs out there that never came out, and they better not try to bring them out once you yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Word
It's
up.
like you put so much passion and knowledge and heart and everything into this music or this project or whatever, and for somebody to take it and do nothing with it, like give people beats
Whack.
and they do nothing with them, and it's like, no, we don't let that happen. The momentum has to keep going. That's how you get excited. That's how new ideas develop, and then you get excited and you do more.
Exactly.
You have to do more.
Exactly.
You have
like
to grow.
to set the tone on that too is like, and this is what it's talking like throughout our days, like how we collaborate is not just like when we're here doing something, you know what I'm saying, painting as well as dancing together like that. But how things like get kind of worked out as far as our collaboration is concerned is, let's say I'm going to the grocery store, you know what I'm saying, and I'm picking up something. I might hear a song or something like that, a sample, might take a pic of something that reminded me of, you know, like a song idea that we were talking about. I'll send it to her. Next thing you know, by the time I get home, oh, yo, check out what I made based off of the pic that you sent. You know what I mean? Similar thing with like a painting, you know? So as I'm living my life, boom, I come back over here and I'm like.
That happens all the time. He gets home and then his phone rings, he'll pick up and I'll be like, oh, did you see what I sent you? I finished this thing. And he'll be like,
right.
I just sent it to you. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Even if I was in the middle of doing something else, whatever, like, I know I can give back so he can keep working on it.
Right.
That's what I do, because my thing, I can kind of work on my, you know, develop a new thing, create a new beat, come up with new ideas. But if it's something that we're both working on, I want him to work on it.
Yeah.
So I do my part, go.
And that momentum is crazy, you know. And it allows for your craft to get that much better, because the more that you're practicing it, you know what I mean? The more that in your life, every day, like you're developing a different side of who it is that you are as an artist. By the time you get back to that piece, because it's not going to be long, you know what I'm saying? It's like minutes, really. You know what I mean? By the time you get back to that piece, you have that much more to offer it.
And you're developing how to react to something that's not your own idea, right? Because with the collaboration, what he sends me is never something that I would have come up with.
Yeah.
So I get something, how do I react to this thing that someone else created? Send it back. So, the idea with like a collaboration like that is to work with somebody who brings something to the table that you would not have come up with. Otherwise, I would just make my own stuff. Like, I wouldn't have needed him for like Labyrinthine to be the executive producer.
Yeah.
Because some of the beats, some of the songs I had started already on my own, but I wanted like his expertise and his knowledge and his different point of view, whatever he brings to that musical table, to kind of complete it in the way that I would not be able to complete it myself. Even though I can complete a song on my own, you know, we have different years of experience doing different things. So it's like
that the passing back and forth that, oh, you can You know what I'm saying? It's very well developed.
That's why we can talk like this. Like when you guys talk, you yeah, that's what we do with music all the time.
Yeah.
Are we done?
We're done.
Mini Mapsterclass Part 3, aka Mapsterclass 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't rename all of these. Anyway,
it's done.
if you have any questions or whatever, just hit us up.
Know what I mean?
Share some of the stuff with your friends.
Yeah, please.
Create some things. If somebody chooses to work with you and gives you their talent and their part of their heart
Right.
in the music that they gave you, don't let it just sit on the floor and walk all over it. Finish that project.
Nice.
Don't release it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Somebody took their time and their care and attention to present something to you, and just as because it's a person you know what I'm saying? When they blow up and you try to get that from them, it's gonna be like $87,000. And it's gonna be too late.
Peace.
Bye.